Good evening, everyone. I will call the Port Authority of the City of Bloomington to order. Tonight is Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Thank you all for joining us here in the council chambers. Thanks to our commission members and thanks to everybody watching online. We have a rather full agenda, Commission, so we will get after it right away. Our first order of business tonight is item 1.1. This is the approval of the Port Authority minutes. This is from our July 15th, 2025 Port Authority Commission meeting.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner, I'm going to call everybody council member tonight, just so we're clear here. Motion by Commissioner Keller and a second by Commissioner Peterson to adopt tonight's Port Authority meeting minutes, item 1.1. Any further commission comment or questions on this? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. And taking the opportunity now to note, obviously, President Erickson is not here, and I am filling in, so we've got a 6-member commission this evening. So, next order of business is item 2.1 on our agenda. We've got 4 items under new business. Item 2.1 is a draft update to the South Loop District Plan. Thomas is going to lead us through this. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm sorry? Oh. Uh-oh. Don't want to give away the game. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to be presenting the draft update to the South Loop District Plan update, or the draft update to the South Loop District Plan, that. So this is a comp plan amendment. It updates the 2012 South Loop District Plan. And as an update, it's going to be functioning as an addendum to the original 2012 document. And just to note, it's part of the 2024-2025 Planning Commission work plan. The intention of this project is to, as the name implies, bring the 2012 document up to date. It's going to be comparing the South Loop development and growth outcomes to the vision and goals that were expressed in that 2012 document. It doesn't change those vision and goals. It maintains those, but it does recommend new policies. Sorry, one second. Sorry about that. It does recommend new policies and actions that are intended to make that 2012 document relevant to today's existing conditions and congruous with city policies that have been adopted since 2012. Come on. There we go. Here we go. Oh. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Anyways, so this was kicked off back in July of last year. We had a month-long suite of study sessions back in October. One was held in front of the Port Authority Commission last year on October 15th. We also did one in front of the Creative Placemaking Commission back in early October, as stated on the slide. And then we held an extra set of study sessions this past February, March in front of Planning Commission and City Council, respectively. Within the document, you'll notice a lot of topics touched upon to bring it up to date. As stated before, it does function as an addendum, so the idea is that it will supersede or augment the related content in that 2012 document. And some of the policies and actions that are addressed relate to creative placemaking, sustainability, the future of Lindau Lane, or the vision for it, site and building design of new structures in the district, public space design related to the corners and the intersections within the district. So kind of related to what is located at 24th and Lindau Lane. And then it touches upon parks and open space, transit and walkability, and stormwater management. Getting into further detail that's related to this, to the Port Authority Commission, it does recommend continued support for creative placemaking. That's what we got out of these study sessions and the outreach that we've done so far. It is recommending a sustainable building policy for projects that are receiving public subsidy. That's an amendment to the initiative that was originally stated in 2012. So something that's more dialed in and focused and compliant with state statute. Although that, I should say that bullet is still under some revision, so it's not finalized. But that is what's present in the document right now. It does touch upon the remote airport parking study. That's still being discussed within the city, so it hasn't been formally adopted yet. But nonetheless, it mentions that. It talks about greater use flexibility for buildings to perhaps shore up or to address lower office demand. So giving building owners some flexibility to repurpose vacant space so that it can be put to productive use. Okay. Silence all phones. Sorry about that. It does. It also advocates for an updated vision for the Lindau Link, considering some of the recent development that has occurred along that stretch. That has kind of veered away from the original vision that was stated in the 2012 document. It's going to recommend studying site and building standards that achieve the development intensity goals. That's actually something that came out of last week's Planning Commission meeting. This was presented at a public hearing in front of Planning Commission. I can speak more about that, the results of that meeting if you'd like. And as mentioned in the previous slide, it discusses improved site design requirements and guidance for open space and gateway development. So what's ever happened at 24th and Lindau, the same will probably happen at 34th and American Boulevard. And this plan is recommending to get ahead of that to make the best out of those opportunities. Some of the engagement that's occurred for this project happened quite a bit ago. In August of last year, there was Music in the Park, where we were introducing the project and just raising awareness for the planning effort and talking with residents, or attendees, I should say. Not all of them were residents, but nonetheless, they were attendees, and they wanted to get to know more about what the update effort was all about. We have a Let's Talk Bloomington page, a project page on Let's Talk Bloomington, to act as a repository for documents, provide updates to readers, and to link to relevant documents that provide a good background for the planning effort. It also acts as a medium for visitors to pose questions to staff or offer comments on the planning effort and the draft documents. We've been sending out regular communications to key external stakeholders that they have business within the district, including developers, agencies, government agencies, nonprofits. We've been communicating with them regularly just to keep them apprised of how the planning effort is going, and to also advertise any new documents that are made available to the public so that they can view them and then provide us their comments. There is no Exhibit F, so ignore that bullet point. That's a that's a vestige from last Thursday's Planning Commission meeting. Also, there's no Exhibit G. But this is a comp plan amendment, so we have to abide by the rules for submitting comp plan amendments to the Met Council for their approval. So we've also had to notify adjacent jurisdictions, and they have a 60-day window to review and to provide comments on the draft document that will be submitted for comp plan amendment approval from the Met Council. So far, 10 have responded, and only one has left a comment. So we're still waiting on the other 15 organizations to reach out to us. And this should also be updated. I apologize. There was a public hearing originally scheduled for September 8th in front of City Council, as the Planning Commission did recommend approval with some conditions. Again, I can get into detail about that if you'd like. But we're no longer aiming for September 8th. We're going to be just postponing it a week until the 15th. And then should it go well at City Council and it's approved, it will be submitted to the Met Council for their review and approval. So with that, I can take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate it. Commission, before we get to questions, I've got one. So on one of your engagement slides, you talk about communication with key external stakeholders. Could you talk about that a little bit more? Exactly who, what some of the feedback you got, especially I'm thinking the business owners, perhaps the developers in the area, the landowners, and so on.
Yes. I'm sorry. Chair? Is that the title?
What is it?
What's the title?
You can go with mayor for
Mayor.
Mayor, okay.
Just easier, yeah.
Sure. Mayor, thank you for that question. Yeah, so communication with key external stakeholders has, it involves, as noted in those bullet points, emails, so regular communications, just telling where we are in the process. That includes developers. It includes U.S. Fish and Wildlife, watershed management organizations, well, yeah, I mean, that's basically summary. Well, Hennepin County as well, I'm sorry. Hennepin County, the state, they would also be interested and be considered stakeholders in this as part of this project. So letting them know where we are, letting them know that we are available for answering their questions, either email or in person. We have done some in-person meetings. We did that with a couple of developers represented in the district that have ongoing projects in BCS and own property within the district. And getting their feedback on just what do they see as the trends in terms of the real estate markets for the area. There's a lot of office north of American Boulevard, and how do they see the future of those properties? Are they reimagining them? Are they considering some different actions to make them more vibrant and in line with the vision and goals of the South Loop District Plan? So those types of communications, and then just letting them know when anything's been available as far as documentation that's come from study sessions or that's been part of study sessions, and letting them know also of upcoming public hearings.
Thank you for that. And I was thinking also some of the larger employers or the more prominent employers, Polar or SICK or Park and Fly and or Go, Health Partners, TKDA. And I only bring this up just because there have been a couple of instances recently where the engagement with key stakeholders in front of the council, it's kind of tripped up or stumbled a little bit some of the work that we've been doing as the council. And I just want to make sure that if and when this comes to the council, that question doesn't come up. And if and when it does come up, you can say that, yeah, we did talk to these folks and heard from them.
Certainly, Mayor. And yeah, I'm probably not remembering everyone from the email list. It was, I think, close to 20, and so I'm probably being a little forgetful. But even owners and operators of the Mall of America, for instance. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, we are in regular communication with them, and they know, hopefully they know that they can reach out to staff to discuss the project.
Very good. Thank you. Commission members, any questions? Commissioner Lunds.
Hi, evening. I got a couple, three on here because it's page 9 on the city agenda on the city website. It says the changes, the addendum, it doesn't change the vision or goals adopted in 212. That vision being to transition the South Loop into an urban from a suburban neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So you're just reiterating that.
Mayor, yes, and Commissioner, yes, we are reiterating that. So that's, I think
okay,
it's pretty early in the document. Yeah, it might be actually on the first page where we do recount the vision and the accompanying goals of the 2012 plan, and that reaffirming those goals and that vision, and that they're not being touched.
Okay, so it's the same.
Yep,
it's good. And then, let's see, it's my page 12 that I printed out. For one, if you missed it just a few minutes ago, if you said it a few minutes ago, I missed it. What's the Lindau link? I may have been presented to me, but I can't. Does anybody know what that? I can't remember what that is.
Mayor, Commissioner, yeah, the Lindau link is that portion of Lindau Lane that I think has been modified. I think it was originally existed west of 24th. That's the major north-south road that lines the east side of the MOA property, the Mall of America property.
What property?
Mall of America property. Yeah. So it existed originally west of that, but then I think it was moved to begin at 24th and then continue on to the pedestrian way at the end of 34th. So it links basically the Mall of America to BCS or Bloomington Central Station. So
Okay.
along Lindau Lane.
Okay, good. And then on that same page, maintain unit density, improve design requirements. And I'm just kind of wondering, you have a couple of, for instance, what are the improved design requirements?
Mayor, Commissioner, yeah, we took a lot of, not inspiration, but took a lot of observations of how the public space that was developed at 24th in Lindau, that's in front of, I can't remember which hotels, but at those corners are two quasi-public spaces for people to occupy. It was staff's observations of the function of those public spaces that they didn't really work well because of their location, because of the design, because of the surrounding context that just made them very hostile spaces, or inhospitable, I shouldn't say hostile, inhospitable spaces for people to just do what you do in public spaces, to recreate. They're not very good spaces for that. And so knowing that there's other opportunities for public space development in the South Loop District, we want to get ahead of that and provide good design guidelines so that we can avoid what the characteristics that make those public spaces at 24th and Lindau so inhospitable to just what public spaces are for. So that's what that bullet point is getting at. So the closest example, or the near-term example, will probably be what occurs at 34th and American. There are two corners that on the north side of American Boulevard at 34th that are still relatively undeveloped, or they will be redeveloped in the future.
One of those a parking lot, right?
One is, well,
Big fly lot?
well, they're both parking lots, actually. One is a hotel on the northeast side, and the other side is I believe it's the Park and Fly or Park and Go. I don't recall off the top of my head, but it's just parking spaces at the moment. And so if they do redevelop and there's something that's going to occur at that corner, let's get ahead of that and work with whomever owns the property, and we will redevelop it, what those corners should look like. Should they be public open spaces, or should they just be built up to the corner? Staff certainly has opinions, but we want to work with the professionals in creative placemaking to work out those design standards, to see how those corners are public spaces that accompany that private development, how that can develop so it can avoid some of the mistakes that took place at 24th and Lindau.
So, I mean, that's quote unquote an entry corner. I mean, you're coming off the interstate, you're entering the South Loop.
Yep.
And we want to make that obvious and highlight it. Okay. Okay, thank you. And then let me see. There was something about changing densities. It said maintain unit density, but I thought it also said to increase unit density. That's part of the transition from suburban to urban, a big part, obviously. I can't find that right now. Am I right? Is that in here? Maybe it was in the...
Well, Mayor, Commissioner, we are going to be re-examining what we're identifying as the intensity of land uses. And this is from direction from Planning Commission from last Thursday, is they do want a reexamination of the intensity of land uses in the South Loop, because it's just a rare opportunity for redevelopment on that scale to occur within the city of Bloomington, because most of Bloomington is already developed. So when you have these opportunities to redevelop, and for an area that's going to accommodate the majority of the job growth and the population growth, really making sure that the land uses and the zoning meet the moment and actually accommodate the intensity of land uses that are needed to make the South Loop a successful in achieving the vision stated in the 2012 plan. So we're going to be re-examining the intensity of land uses, and that may mean, it can mean a lot of things. Re-examining floor area ratio, the placement of buildings, minimum heights if we want to go down that road. But there are numerous standards we can examine to see how do we achieve what was set out back in 2012.
Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Commissioners, additional questions? Commissioner Peterson.
It's more a comment. I thought the discussion about the parks at 24th and Lindau and the kind of discussion about the Lindau Link were particularly insightful, and so I'm glad we're kind of going and looking in that particular area. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, if there's nothing else, no action required on this. This was FYI only, and it'll be in front of the council in the coming weeks, we'll say. How about that?
Yes, Mayor.
Very good.
That's
Thank
a
you.
good way to put it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to item 2.1 on our agenda, Council. This is regarding the Carbon 31 refinance agreement changes. And Luke will lead us in this one. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. So before you tonight is the Carbon 31 refinance agreement changes. I think you have heard about this at the July meeting just briefly. We've since worked pretty extensively with McGuff, our attorneys, and their legal representation as well to work through a more formal agreement, which we're bringing for you for approval tonight. So the background on this item is that McGuff is hoping to refinance the construction loan on the Carbon 31 property now that it's fully constructed and leasing is stabilized. The intention is to refinance with a Fannie Mae loan due to that's the best loan terms that's available. However, the guidelines for that loan do not allow the inclusion of TIF income as collateral, nor for financial subordination of their existing TIF loan. To sort of work around that issue and allow them to go through with their refinancing, they're proposing to create a new entity, that's the BCS4 TIF LLC, which would be assigned the existing tax increment financing agreements, and that leaves the current property owning entity, the BCS4 Multifamily LLC, to remain in place and continuing operating the property, as well as the debtor for the Fannie Mae loans. That's the real estate and the mortgage would remain with the BCS4 Multifamily LLC entity. I understand that at the July meeting, there was some concerns about our security interests and making sure we were thinking through the various concerns about how this agreement might be changing the ongoing nature of these agreements, including recapture agreements and that sort of thing. So it's important to note here that the affordable housing declaration is not affected by this agreement, as that remains with the property, kind of regardless of the agreement. So that stays with the multifamily entity. And then the method by which we are transferring the other entities, the rights and obligations, is through an assignment and assumption agreement. And so that's a blanket agreement which transfers the rights and obligations of what we had considered the secondary developer. The rights and obligations of the secondary developer agreement, the recapture agreement, and the TIF note all go to the new entity, which I mentioned is the BCS4 TIF LLC. Above those two agreements is BCS4 Parent LLC, and that merely is there to be that essentially parent entity, kind of providing the bridge or the pathway between those two agreements for the purposes of transferring money, TIF note, and things like of that nature. It is worth noting that an org chart, if you'd like to see that visually, is on page 61. So like I've mentioned, we have worked to ensure the port does not risk our ability to recapture if those conditions are met according to the agreement. So there's some specific language in that assignment and assumption agreement that when it comes to calculations of recapture, that we are calculating between both entities, because that is important when you're calculating NOI, operating income, and some other aspects, so that's specifically called out. And then once again, important to know the affordable housing declaration is not changing with this here. So with that, there is a resolution attached which would approve the assignment and assumption agreement. That's what we're asking you to approve tonight. I am here to answer any questions.
Thank you much. Commissioner Hunt?
Just had a reaffirming question that it was reviewed by the port attorney and the city attorney as well, all the documentation and everything.
Mayor, Commissioner, correct, yes.
I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
Had to ask.
Yeah, very, very good.
Had to ask.
Other questions, commissioners? Commissioner Peterson?
I have a motion if there's no further questions.
Hold on, we'll give it one more shot.
One comment is I've been doing this for 29 years, and I had to look up what an allonge was because I'd never seen an allonge before. So now I learned something new this week.
Right, are you going to share?
Well, apparently it's like we have an endorsement, you endorse a check, and it's in the handout here. But apparently, if there's not room on the check, it's like a additional piece of paper that's hooked to it. So I had to go. Well, it's on page 57, ALLONGE. So
Why you use that in casual conversation?
that's right. That's right. You probably do them all the time at work. Seems like a lawyerly thing. Anyways, with tranche, okay, I know what that is. So with that, I'll move the resolution approving assignment and assumption of secondary development agreement, recapture agreement, and TIF note in connection with Bloomington Central Station LLC, authorizing execution of consent to such assignment.
Motion by Commissioner Peterson, second by Commissioner Keller. On the motion on item 2.2 as stated by Commissioner Peterson. No further commission council or no further commission discussion or questions on this one? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 2.3 on our agenda. This is regarding the top employers in Bloomington presentation. Good evening, Lynn.
Good evening. Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Thorpe, for those that might not remember my introduction a couple months ago.
I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It unfortunately happens a lot, as you can probably imagine. So I'm here to present about the top employers in Bloomington. So let's see. No? Okay. So I'm going to go over sort of like an introduction of this project, and then I'll talk about the process, some of my findings, and then kind of what the next steps for this will be. So the introduction and background of this is, okay, so in the project kind of arose from the Economic Development Strategic Plan. Under the port objectives, the traded sectors is a focus of the work at the port. And so the Bloomington Economic Partnership is actually part of that. And as you may remember from my background, I spent some time in commercial real estate research. And so even though I've kind of been out of the market for a while, a lot of these like tenants just kind of stuck in my mind. So I was able to sort of give an awareness to how this project could go forward. So I worked off of some of the existing documentation that was existing from the finance department. So in the annual report, we have, the top employers there. So using some of that information. And then I leveraged some of the connections that we had, both like from the Bloomington Economic Partnership and the CEO Summit, as well as some of the like brokers that I had relationships with as well. And so some of my findings were, oh, and I should mention that the intern that we had this summer, who was lovely from the Bloom in Bloomington program, also helped with this project. So she helped me kind of verify some of the information. So overall, Bloomington's employment, the top industry is the professional and business services. It makes up about 32% of about the 90,000 employees in Bloomington. Second is retail, trade, transportation, utilities. That's kind of the top industry. If we take a look at the top employers in Bloomington, though, you can see that shift. So retail, trade, transportation, utilities makes up 35% of the 30 largest employers in Bloomington, followed by education, health services as after that, and then professional and business services only makes up 6% of the top 30 employers in Bloomington. And I know you're probably curious who some of those might be. So this is the logo slide of the top 20, because I couldn't really fit in 30 there. And so I combined, using kind of a methodology, I combined like employment in hotel staffing for the fourth largest, but then the rest are the 20 largest employers in Bloomington. Some accolades that we're pretty proud of for some of these employers. The Star Tribune does some top like great places to work in the metro, and these 7 are on here. And so we're happy to call these employers home. And then as far as the distribution of where some of these headquarters are, because in part of my research, I was able to obviously find the locations. So of the 41 companies that are headquartered in Bloomington, meaning both local and global headquarters, this is kind of where they are in the city. And to be really chaotic, here is all of the headquarters that are located in Bloomington. So there are 41 in total. And then what does this kind of mean of those headquarters? So 16 of them are international, meaning they have a reach beyond the United States, and 25 are local, meaning they're like in the state of Minnesota or just in the United States. And then this kind of breaks down the type of company they are. And for the purposes of this research, government includes the City of Bloomington School District and Normandale Community College. So what are the next steps for this? So this is a living document. I'll continue to kind of update it. So I'll work both with community members, other brokers, news sources, that sort of thing. I don't know if you saw the news today that Ceridian, or Dayforce, I guess, is potentially going to be acquired. So that could be a headquarter that we could potentially lose. So we'll keep an eye on that. We plan on collaborating with business assistants to put this information into a CRM, so it won't be in like a living document. It'll hopefully be in like a true database. And then I was really feeling the vibe with the 8s, so hopefully we can get more companies to relocate to Bloomington and then hopefully get them to grow so we can propagate our current business community. So with that, are there questions?
Not that we'd ever actively poach other businesses.
Of course
You're not saying that. But they decide to relocate here in Bloomington, we welcome them with open arms.
Yes,
That's
of
what we
course.
say. That's exactly what I thought we
Yes,
said.
of course.
So, commissioners, member questions? So looking at the top 20 employers in order of size, and we've been working on this with our CEO Summit and with the Bloomington Business Connections and so on, and I'll be honest, as I look at Ideas and Willis Towers Watson, and I'm not sure their business that they do and who they are.
So Ideas is a software as a service company. They do like HR, or Ideas, yeah, is a software as a service company. So they do like HR type service. Willis Towers Watson is based in Chicago. I'm sure you've heard of Willis Tower. And it's a like consulting business management type of firm.
Okay. Commissioner Lunds.
Just a question and comment. I mean,
Sure.
I thought I knew all the businesses in Bloomington. There's a couple on here. Who is Ideas? I don't know. I have no idea who that is. And then I was just wondering where SICK is going to fall in here. SICK Optical.
Meaning, are they considered a headquarter or a top employer?
Oh, they're
or what?
headquarters, but I mean, just in size of employers. I mean, they're definitely growing. And so I was
Yes.
just kind of wondering. I guess I was kind of surprised they weren't in there. But
So SICK wouldn't be considered one of the top employers right now. They're a little further down the list. Granted, they the second location hasn't opened yet. They're sitting right around 200 or so employees right now. They would be considered the U.S. headquartered for a German-owned company. So they wouldn't. But yeah, so that's how they would be considered for the purposes of this tracking. Pearson VUE is an education services company. They do testing and different things. No, please.
I can tell you more about it, Rob. I know a lot about that company. So.
Yeah.
you work with them?
I'm acquainted with the founders of it before it got bought by Pearson. So if you want to learn more about it, come talk to me after the meeting. I won't bore people with it here.
So given your background, Alan, and your knowledge of this, as you did this research, were there any surprises that came up?
Some, yes. I think that actual headquarters were new, and it was fun for me to kind of watch the relocations. TKDA, who we're very proud of. We are also kind of tracking companies that have left Bloomington, and we are currently meeting with potential retention risks, we'll call it. And so, unfortunately, Schwann's could be on that list, so they would kind of come off of it going forward. And so just kind of keeping an eye on that too, and seeing some that have left recently and the ones that have relocated. I had forgot that Cray, who had relocated from St. Paul, and that was a very exciting, the offices at MOA acquisition, but then it was acquired by HP, which used to be at 2 Market Point, 4400 West 78th Street, and then is now still at the offices at MOA.
Having worked at Cray, it was
Commissioner Keller?
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Keller?
Yes.
Can you please turn your mic on? Oh, there it
Bring
is.
it closer to my mouth. Yeah, having worked at Cray and knowing the pride that people work there had in that name, I thought it was a sad day when it was replaced. And we were talking about Astridian earlier. I mean, that company was a truly remarkable place, and my experience was that pretty much everybody who worked there had enormous pride in it. So it's just a personal observation, and I guess they didn't ask me, so I guess there's nothing more to say.
Well, I know that a portrait of Seymour Cray is part of a mural in the city of Bloomington, so
As
says a
well,
lot.
well, it should be.
Anything else, Commission? If not, again, another informational item. But thank you very much. This is, as you can tell from the questions, kind of eye-opening in a lot of ways. So thank you.
Good, I'm happy. Thank you.
Appreciate it. We will move on to item 2.4, a resolution to accept donations and approve related adjustments to the approved budget. Holly.
Thank you, President Pro Tem and Commissioners. I learned that was the appropriate term. This is a very brief item, but one that we did want to take a moment to celebrate. So we came to you a few months ago and asked the port to financially pledge their support for the different program. The Hatch program, which offers a prize of $100,000 to a new business that wants to open a brick and mortar here in Bloomington. This is the second year of the program. We had partnered with the Chamber last year. They were unable to, and so the port stepped up and was willing to support the full $100,000. But staff did assure all of you on the commission that we would seek additional donations to support the program. Staff was successful in that. Some exciting news that Bloomington, Minnesota Travel and Tourism were able to support us with $10,000. Stearns Bank was able to support us with $10,000, and they were able to obtain a 3 times matching grant from FHLB Des Moines for a total of $40,000, which means we have earned half that funding back, which is wonderful and will help prolong the program. And so what we're asking for tonight is for you simply to approve a resolution that allows us to accept those donations and make related budget adjustments.
Thank you for that, and that is very good news. And I won't say it was unexpected news, because I think as we talked about Hatch Bloomington and how popular it was and how exciting it was only a matter of time before folks jumped on and wanted to be part of that. And I think we see that here, to have Stearns Bank and, did we decide, was it Farmers Home Loan Bank in Des Moines or Federal Home Loan Bank? Federal Home Loan Bank in Des Moines. Wonderful to see that $40,000 commitment to a great program like this. And frankly, I expect this to grow based on the comments that I've been hearing from other businesses who want to be part of this and who want to be associated with this and support it. I won't be surprised to see that total increase when we head into year 3 of Hatch Bloomington next year. And by the way, we are down to the final 3 contestants in Hatch Bloomington, but you all know that. And the final round is coming up soon, very soon. So tune in. Commission, any questions on this? Any comments? If not, I would look for a motion to accept the donations and approve the related adjustments to the approved budget.
I jumped the gun. So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Luntz.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Keller to accept the donations and approve the related adjustments to the approved budget. No further commission discussion on this. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Well done. That's exciting. I'm very happy to see that. Commission, we're going to move on to item 3 on our agenda, our organizational business. Item 3.1 is a mid-year update for port programs. Holly.
Yes, and President Pro Tem and Commissioners, you are going to see a bit of a parade of the port staff. We are taking the opportunity to update you on a lot of the work that we've been doing this year and what we're looking forward to in 2026, and we're taking this time to do it in August in advance of our preliminary budget and levy. So you're going to hear from business assistants, creative placemaking, workforce, and development, as well as very briefly me. You hear from me plenty. So thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, please hold them until the end of the presentation.
Hello, Barb. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I know this is a slow clicker. So Barb Wolf, Assistant Port Authority Administrator, and we also added to our team this year Priscilla Maiwa. She's our Business Assistant Specialist. Just testing out the clicker here.
You can ask Marit to advance the slides if that's faster for you.
Okay, so taking a look at this, we just want to highlight what's happening in 2025 and key up what we're looking at for 2026 in preparation of looking at the budget. So when we're taking a look at this, looking at our partners that we use, Hennepin County is a large partner that we use to extend our reach out into the entrepreneurship and business community. So we have Elevate Hennepin, which is our technical business assistants. We also graduated our 3rd cohort of CEO Start earlier this year. That's a 10-week entrepreneurship program. And we also held our first 2-day CEO Start boot camp, and we did that for the top 25 of the Hatch Bloomington. We partner heavily with Next Stage. That is an organization here in our community. Hiromi Yoki is our first point of contact as a technical business advisor. So even though I work in this realm, I act more as the advocate and liaison than the actual technical assistance. So I lean on Hiromi and her team. She hosts Welcoming Wednesdays here, and she also goes out monthly with me on business engagement visits. And they also act as a funding partner. In 2025, they, through an RFP process, were able to obtain $4.2 million through Hennepin County to help distribute to the business community. We also partner with Zawadi Center and Sigma Consulting and the Small Business Administration. So we piloted this in 2024, and Zawadi Center has given us the space to conduct programming out in the community. So we have a series of classes that we're doing in 2025, and we'll end in December with the Business Success Insights event, and we did that last December, and we had over 175 attendees for that event. So reaching a different population in our community. Also partnering with the Minnesota Small Business Development Center, we held a 6-week entrepreneurship program here called the Community Entrepreneurship Program. They graduated here in June. MinStar was a new one for us. This is entrepreneurship and small business owners in the technology realm. So they hold what they call an Untech conference every year called Mini Bar, and 19 years this year at the Best Buy organization, and we were able to partner with Elevate Hennepin and touch over 1,000 attendees at that event this year. We also attended the SADBOC Government Procurement Fair. Here, we're partnering with finance. Dana Chow is our purchasing manager. And then Baru and Ahmed, we partner with them. They have the ability to certify businesses in the CERT program, which a city will be adopting in 2026 coming up. We also partner with Minnesota Deed. Every year we've been tabling at the Start a Business, Grow a Business event at Hennepin County and the Carver Workforce Center. And also with the Minneapolis Regional Chamber, we have a quarterly business connections meeting that we hold at Friendship Village in 2025. And this is a way to stretch our reach in the business community and meet with leadership there as well. So I did touch a little bit on the internal collaboration, and you mentioned Hatch Bloomington earlier. The top 3 is on September 3rd, 6 o'clock in the Black Box Theater. Everybody is welcome to join us, but at the very least, vote. So this year we partnered a lot more to offer the business assistance to the applicants before we even got to the top 25. So we've had an introductory workshop, a pitch workshop for all applicants. The 2-day CEO Start Boot Camp was for the top 25. We're holding a real estate workshop tomorrow evening with Lee Kruger of Kruger Real Estate and Lee Hall with Next Stage. So looking at a brick and mortar location and what does that look like when you're transferring that to a brick and mortar location and the things that you should be looking at. And then the top 3, navigating city permits, starting to set those up with groups of staff and what that looks like and all the required costs when you're going into a physical space. Also partnering with planning on small business codes and processes. So as we're out there in the business community and we hear things, how do we bring that forward and how do we continue to document that? So we have an internal working team to advance those because it's other colleagues that need to change those ordinances. And then I touched on the CERT program where there'll be more to come in the future on the procurement for all city dollars. And we have coming up, as the mayor touched on, the CEO Summit. This will be the 2nd event happening on Wednesday, October 1st at the Masonic Heritage Center. We'll also be having our first ever business forum. So early in the morning will be the CEO Summit with the top employers in the community, and then open to all businesses in the community. The commissioners here have been invited as well. We'll have a program between 9 and 10:30, and then opportunity for vendors and networking. So hope you can all come. Additional things that we're doing, it was touched on earlier with Alan that we're implementing a customer relationship management software. So as we document our interactions with the business community, there will be one place for us to hold all that. Onboarding Priscilla and Hiromi are here just brainstorming on the business forum and how we move forward with that. We'll be continuing with our programming all this year with the Site and Facade Improvement Program. We have $200,000, $150,000 from the commission, and then $50,000 from Hennepin County through a grant. Our Business Retention Program, that's a program that we can help with $15,000 if businesses get displaced due to private redevelopment. And then our SAC credit and deferral programs, that's for the sewer availability charge, a grant program, and then also a 5-year deferment at a low interest rate. So just showing a couple of photos here as we move forward. I will highlight 2 buildings that benefit from the Site and Facade Improvement Program. This one is at 9818 Nicollet Avenue. You'll see from the bird's eye view here, this one I'm focusing on the landscaping. This program only provides for 25% of that project, but this used to be a former dry cleaners, and what they've done to this building is short of amazing. It's been an absolute transformation. And also working with her partnering commercial businesses to improve their lots as well. The second one here that we're taking a look at, you wouldn't think of Comfort Inn as a small business, but this is a prominent business on 494, which is a gateway to the community. And as you can see with this transformation, this is modernizing it and also keeping him competitive with the other businesses, hotel in Bloomington. Ribbon cuttings, that has been something that we started doing last year, and it's something that looking at all size businesses has been very beneficial. So Scramblin' Egg, they won Hatch Bloomington last year. They opened on the day that we held the top 25 of Hatch Bloomington. Wilderness Inquiry, they relocated their headquarters here. Bloomington Family Dental, that's the former dry cleaners along with the financial services. We celebrated that last week. Creekside Kitchen opened at 9 Mile Brewing Company this summer. Relaxing Healthy Center is a spa. And Mora, the Mount Olivet Rolling Acres is a youth stabilization home. And Slumberland Furniture, we do them all big and small. Okay, so the last slide here, looking ahead to 2026, when we're looking at what we'll be continuing to do, the city implemented a new SAC fee this year in addition to the one that we collect for Met Council. So looking at an additional program that we can help the small businesses coming into the community. Looking to transition from Welcoming Wednesdays to a Bloom and Grow small business pilot, where we'll be bringing programming out into the business community. That will be spearheaded by Priscilla. We're exploring one of two assistance programs, looking at a micro grant program, similar maybe like an interior program, because the facade program can't really help that micro small business. And so a lot of those are the tenants going into the commercial nodes. Or looking at a loan program, like a 2% loan program, similar to like the city of Minneapolis has. And we'll continue with our site and facade improvement program. It has been successful. We just closed the applications this week. And then continuing to grow our business retention program. And with that, I'll pass it over to our creative placemaking team.
Would you like questions now, or if we have them?
Could we do them at the end?
We will do the questions at the end, Commission. So we will hold your questions, please.
Good evening. I'm Catherine Murray, the Creative Placemaking Specialist, working with Alejandra Plenka, our Creative Placemaking Director. I'm excited to share our update and recent and upcoming projects. They're both in the South Loop and across Bloomington. Let's start in the South Loop. The Evening Primrose mural is now complete. It was installed on the Finley building outside of Backstory Coffee by internationally renowned artist Mariela Aras. Its bold design has quickly captured the attention of visitors and residents, becoming a local favorite. At the Old Cedar Avenue Bridge Trailhead, the Cedar Hante mural and Indigenous Garden project is nearly finished. Local artist Sandy Spieler collaborated with Dakota cultural educator Tara Perone to create not just art, but a place of cultural learning. We're planning an unveiling celebration on September 20th from 11 to 1. Nature Fest returned for its third year in partnership with the Minnesota Valley National Wildlife Refuge, Indigenous Roots, and Nuevas Latinas. We welcome nearly 600 attendees to enjoy nature, art, and community. We also partnered with Parks and Recreation for events at Bloomington Central Station Park, including Sunday Fun Day and the On the One Music Festival. And for the Art Box projects, 4 artists are currently hand-painting utility boxes owned by XL Energy. These works will brighten our streets by the end of the summer. Citywide, the momentum continues. At the Bloomington Ice Garden, we've partnered with Parks and Recreation and community stakeholders to select artist Adam Turman for a new vinyl-wrapped mural. We celebrated the approval of the citywide creative placemaking plan, which I'm pleased to announce has won the APA Minnesota Chapter's Advancing Diversity and Social Change Award. Community-led creativity is thriving, recently with the live murals at Dred Scott's Clutch Hitters and with the Bloomington Street Arts Festival at 9 Mile Brewing, also on September 20th, plus the Fiestas Patrias Hispanic Heritage Month celebration at Bloomington Central Station on September 21st. Trepbow Park. The Trepbow Park installation includes an interactive creative play element, giving kids a reason to explore art through movement. And we're also moving forward with a new sculpture at Bryant Park. The artist application is open through September 5th, and a large-scale mural at the Community Health and Wellness Center. In the South Loop next year, we'll continue activating Bloomington Central Station Park through event partnerships. We'll also be developing a creative wayfinding plan for Old Shakopee Road and exploring possibilities for a large-scale sculpture or mural. Activation outside the 6th site will be developed. And the 4th year of Nature Fest will take place at the Refuge. Across Bloomington in 2026, we'll see continued support for cultural events such as Juneteenth. We anticipate the installation of a sculpture at the Pond House, as well as the installation of that Bryant Park sculpture. We'll continue developing public art plans for the Community Health and Wellness Center, 9 Mile Creek, and Civic Plaza. And lastly, we will incorporate creative elements onto the ramps and structures at Valley View Park skate spot. Throughout Bloomington, our projects are strengthening community identity, celebrating cultural diversity, and transforming public spaces into places where people truly want to be. Thank you for your support. I'll hand it over to Warsan.
Thank you, Catherine. Good evening, Warsan.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Commission. Hello. Let me see if this thing works. Hi. If I haven't spoken to you or met you yet before, my name is Warsan. I am the Bloom Program Facilitator with the Port Authority. Cool. I will keep it very short. So part of my role is to oversee the Bloom in Bloomington internship program. Just a little reminder of the program purpose is to create a diverse and accessible workforce in our community by matching young people between the ages of 16 and 24 with local employers, whether that is in the city or with our external partners. And I will talk a little bit about that later. Program growth. So I only got here in January, but the program started in 2023, and for the first year, we had 12 interns, and most of those interns were placed within the city of Bloomington, with the 2 external partners being the Mall of America and Larkin Huffman. And then similarly, 2024, we had a similar external partners with 15 interns total. And then this year we had 29 interns, and I think, as you will see, the growth is mainly with our external partners. Even though the internship itself takes place from May to August, we just wrapped up this past Friday. As you see on the timeline, somewhat of a timeline, the program is a year-long or like year-round programming. So we start with employer recruitment, so fall and winter, looking into local employers, contacting them, reaching out to them, seeing if they can take an intern. And then in January, we start with intern recruitment. So we go to local schools, Normandale College, local high schools, to ensure the young people who are in our community know about the program and the opportunity that exists. This year, for the first time, we did what we called Get Ready training. So before the interns even got to interview, they got to go through a training in which they learn about, how do you resume build, interviewing, how do you prepare for it, and things like that. And the purpose of that was, number one, that interns that are coming to us kind of are aware of, are prepared, but also because we received over 100 applications for 29 spots. We wanted young people who were not able to join the program to be able to learn some skills and take that elsewhere and apply it to other opportunities that they may pursue in the future. At the end of May, our summer internship kicked off, and 29 interns were placed across city departments and with our external partners. In addition to that, every other Friday, the interns attended what we call leadership development sessions. And in those sessions, we covered anything from setting SMART goals for the first session, where they got to set a list of goals for what they wanted to accomplish during the internship. And I will tell you from my one-on-ones with the interns, they really kind of lived up to that and held themselves accountable. But we also had presentations like financial literacy from Stearns Bank. Somebody from the local career force center came to do resume and LinkedIn. We had a session on public speaking and so on and so forth. And again, the goal there is the young people who are going through the program are ready and are gaining those skills to help them in the future. Next. Oh. Cool. And again, here are a list of our 2025 partners. Thank you. We wouldn't be able to do the program without them. And again, as you can see, some of the incredible employers here in Bloomington are included here. And then I have a bunch of photos. We asked the interns to take some photos of them out in the field or doing what they need to do during their internship. So I just have a bunch of photos if this thing goes faster. Yeah, so Wilderness Inquiry, they were out in the field. Then Bloomington Travel and Tourism. We had an National Intern Day event. So we had a panel of speakers, some of our interns here. Cool. So looking ahead, as I mentioned earlier, we have a huge demand from the young people side. So this year we received 118 applications for 29 spots. As you can tell, that's very competitive. So our goal moving forward is to expand employer partners. My personal goal is that young people or every employer in the city of Bloomington will have an intern to allow us to build a talented workforce pipeline that these companies can hire in the future, but also to invest in the young people in our city. And additionally, even though there's a huge demand from the young people side, the side of the interns, I do want us to intentionally expand our outreach by reaching out to local community centers. For example, Oasis for Youth, I actually met with them today to kind of get a tour of the drop-in center. They serve a lot of young people who fit within that age group. Barb mentioned Mora, who recently moved to Bloomington. So just making sure that young people who are out of school are also included in the process when we do outreach. And in addition to that, alumni engagement, now we have had over 50 young people who have gone through the internship. So kind of thinking through how do we want to engage alumni moving forward. And then last but not least, we received a grant, a Youth at Work competitive grant from DEED that will allow us to invest $100K over the next 2 fiscal years in the program. And that covers staff wages, stipends, up to 50% stipends, or I should say youth wages for 3 interns. And then also a small amount will be dedicated to transportation support. And that is important because when we ask our young people how they go to work, 13 of the 24 indicated that they drive to work, meaning the rest of them are either driven by family, take public transportation, walk, and so on and so forth. So there's a need there as well. But yeah, and on that note, I'll stop there.
Thank you. Good evening, Kevin.
Good evening, Commissioners and Mayor. So my name is Kevin Canese, Assistant Port Authority Administrator, giving an update about real estate and development. I'm going to be kind of quick here since most of these projects will go before you or have in the past. Big update here is we have 2 staff that are hitting their 1-year anniversary in 2025. And then Alan, who you heard from earlier today, is new this year, so a lot of change for staff for our team. First project update here for 2025, so the SIC headquarters and public parking ramp. So they are working on phase 2, finishing phase 2 of their development of this project. So that's a 550 stall parking ramp that is open to the public as well as their office space. And SIC is a German company that has their headquarters here, their U.S. headquarters in Bloomington. So they're going to be moving their staff to this site. You may have seen me step up when the question was asked about how many folks they have on their team. So this site will have approximately 400 employees once they move into the building later this year. And then they have plans to expand their space in the future. So there's 2 more phases of expansion of both warehouse space as well as office and parking. And then additional real estate projects. So 700 American, which is now called the Roslyn, is a 128 unit affordable senior housing development. So it's currently under construction at Lindell and American. It's topped out. Construction is proceeding very expediently, and the opening is projected to be in spring of 26. It also has some commercial space on the ground floor. And then we continue to work with Mall of America on the Mystery Cove Water Park. You may recall that we pursued and received a legislative extension for the spending plan TIF. So the mall continues to work on securing their private financing, and we're working with them on that project. And then additional real estate development projects include the Commercial Nodes Toolkit, which you heard a presentation on that earlier this year. So that is resources for commercial tenants and owners within the city. So we've engaged with owners and tenants and are continuing to build out our resource list and our Rolodex and remain in communication with them as redevelopment opportunities arise. And we'll continue to do that into the next year as well. We are holding a broker breakfast here in 25, so that'll be later this year in December. So this is our annual breakfast where we're meeting with commercial real estate brokers. Last year we had about 40 people that attend, so we're hoping to have a similar turnout. It's a great opportunity just to make connections, learn from each other, and share ideas. And then we're also this year doing an update of our Opportunity Housing Ordinance. And that update is looking at the nexus between affordable housing development and market rate. And so what we're going to be looking at is how does our current requirements in the ordinance work within the current environment that we're in, so looking at market conditions and affordable requirements related to that. And so we'll be bringing updates before you later this fall about that, and then hopefully implementing those changes in early 26. And then looking ahead to 2026, so continuing to work with McGuff on Bloomington Central Station. So that includes working through what their next phase of redevelopment would look like, continuing to work with Mall of America on the Mystery Cove Water Park, so that's an ongoing project. We are in preliminary conversations about a possible redevelopment at the 98th Street Transit Station. So that's with the Metropolitan Council as well as the HRA. Anticipate that redevelopment is still a ways in the future, but there's initial conversations that will be starting. And then recent federal tax law changes made permanent opportunity zones. And so the result of that is that opportunity zones are updated on an annual basis, and it's really an opportunity to attract investment to projects within the city. So we'll be working to advocate for zones or census tracts within the city to be designated as opportunity zones so that those projects can attract financing. And I think there's 2 more, yes. So 2 more projects looking ahead. Working on the redevelopment of the Ramada property. So as you may recall, we also had a legislative request related to this. This was for the economic development tax exemption. As we receive that extension for that exemption, we're working at reusing the site for economic development with an emphasis on doing it in context with that area, so the Mall of America and the entertainment kind of nature of that area. And then also working with Cross Anderson on the redevelopment of Southtown. So that means looking at how we can work on the development to align with the Penn American District Plan, as well as the possible establishment of one or more TIF district to help finance the costs related to that development. And I think with that, I will turn it over to Holly.
All right, I get to hang out up here for a while. All right, so I only have 2 slides because my main role is to support everybody else here, the amazing team, and then all of you to facilitate the work that we do here out at the port. But I do get involved in some projects, and a lot of my work is also relationship building for external relationships for the port. So you may remember 2025, we started out by completing our economic development strategic plan, which now guides much of the work that we do. We have started working on the Bloomington Economic Partnership and CEO Summit. Those started as the mayor's workforce group. And so we've now sort of evolved it to merge with the Economic Development Strategic Plan. We're taking on different topics each quarter. Very excited that this week we'll be talking about marketing and communications for economic development. And so we have people coming here from the Minnesota Trade Office, Bloomington, Minnesota Travel and Tourism, Explore Minnesota, and Greater MSP to talk about how they all market the state or the region or the city for business or talent or tourism. And then from there, we're going to take it to a workshop with those that attend the Bloomington Economic Partnership and craft our collective message of why Bloomington. Why would you want to bring your company here? Why would you want to come here as a talented person? So we are excited to be working on that. We'll be looking at workforce in the fourth quarter of the year. Partnership growth, we spend a lot of time making sure that our relationships with Greater MSP and DEED are strong. They are our two main partners in business recruitment. They are the ones that send us site selection inquiries. They are out speaking for the different communities and speaking with businesses. So very important. We've also started to build our relationship with the Minnesota Trade Office, which looks internationally, and we attended Select USA with them this year. And then, of course, we have legislative advocacy. So this is all as needed, but we did spend a lot of time at the Capitol this year looking at the Ramada tax exemption extension, which we successfully got, the spending plan TIF extension, which we were successful on. And then we supported the Minnesota Forward Fund flexibility that had to be previously paired with federal funding, and they have decoupled that from federal funding, so more of our Minnesota companies can take advantage of that. And then in 2026, we'll be working with communications. We've already started on that Why Bloomington, doing a more concerted effort around economic development, marketing, and storytelling. If that is of interest to any of you, please come talk to me about it. We'd love to get you involved in helping to craft that message. We'll be supporting staff. I will be supporting staff on key projects, including the water park. We all spend a lot of time on tourism projects, and also developing partnerships for the Bloomington program. That employer recruitment is a collective effort that we all do. Business retention will be continuing to expand our employer visits. Part of the importance of Alan's work is we now know who to go visit. We had older lists, so knowing that our top 20, top 30 employers are always evolving, knowing that even if they may be a smaller representation, they might have a big global footprint like Dairy Queen or SICK. Just making sure that we have a handle on those and that we were visiting them. And I want to thank the mayor because he spends a lot of time with me visiting businesses. And then continuing to collaborate with DEED and Greater MSP and our other partners. We will continue to go to the legislature as we need to. And then some exciting administrative improvements. We are naming some port funds differently to be more aligned with the city's naming standards. Very exciting stuff. Okay, so with that, you have seen really a quick recap of 2025 thus far and where we're headed in 2026. And as I said, we wanted to do that before we did the budget and levy, so you have a good sense of where we've been and where we're going and why we're asking for things we're asking for. And I would like to invite the team back up here to take any questions you may have.
Well, thank you for all of that. And thank you for... I know that this group and I know that the city council talked for a couple of years and said how the work that the port was doing over in the South Loop was wonderful, but we really needed a concerted effort citywide and in a variety of different ways, not just with our big employers, Reed Mall of America or others, and look to the port, look to staff to try and make that a reality. And I would say mission accomplished in terms of what we were hoping to accomplish. Outstanding work with the business retention and with the internships and creative placemaking and all the development work that we're doing. I know I was at the Greater MSP, the 2025 Forward, whatever it was last week, their event that they had last week over at St. Thomas, and heard from more than one person, I think like half a dozen or so, saying the work that we do here in Bloomington, is exceptional and is really kind of setting the pace for the rest of the Twin Cities. And so, well done. Thank you for all of that. It's greatly appreciated, and it's not going unnoticed by folks locally and by folks across the region. So thank you for that. Well done. Accolades aside, commission questions or comments? Commissioner Lunds.
Can I get a copy of all those art projects being done, where they are, and that Catherine had? I'd love to. That's not in any of the packet that I've been given, but I'd like to.
Do you mean the dates coming up for events, or just in general, all the?
In general, I
Yeah,
get around town, and I like to, when I get near, I want to check them out, see them. But
Yeah, they're also available on our website.
are they on the website?
Yeah.
Where?
blm.mn/placemaking. And then
Identical to that presentation that was on here?
not identical, no.
I see Holly
Yeah.
writing furiously, so I guarantee you're going to get a copy of this presentation.
Yes, but we could certainly send out updated information.
Other comments, commissioners? Commissioner Peterson.
Thanks for coming out and talking tonight. And it's interesting to see all the things that we have moving. This is one of the things that I want to make sure that we're doing as we increase the number of programs that we have going on is that that we're setting kind of concrete goals for things, and that we're measuring kind of the effectiveness of what's working, and that we're not afraid, and particularly at the staff level, that you're not afraid to say, hey, this was an idea that we thought was a good idea, and it's turned out to be a bad idea, and it hasn't gotten traction. And so don't be afraid to come with, we're trying this and it's not really working, or it's not working to our level, and here's what we're doing about it. Or come and say, we've tried a couple different ideas in this area and we've decided that it's not worked. I think if we're really being a risk-taking organization in this space, we have to accept that there's going to be a certain number of things that we try that aren't going to work. And so I don't want the presentation at our level to be 100%, kind of glorious successes. And if we have something that's a failure, it's just kind of quietly, kind of put out in the back pasture and not talked about again. I think we have to look at those things and say, okay, what was different? We actually went and did it versus, when we thought it was going to be a good thing, and then say, okay, what can we learn from that and go forward? And so don't be scared of having that sort of conversation and coming and saying, we tried this and it didn't work. That for me, I think that's just as important as coming and talking about successes. So,
Good advice, Commissioner Peterson. Thank you. Others? If not, no. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you all very much. Well done.
Thank you.
And Holly's just going to stay up there as we head on to item 3.2, our 2026 preliminary Port Authority budget and tax levy. Commissioner Lunds?
This is a personal problem. This was warm and tepid when I got in here. It's now cold.
Oh, it's like
It's freezing in here.
You could hang meat in here, I guarantee. Yeah. Agree?
Can we open a door or something? I don't know what we can do with it. I'm fine. My nose is running. I know. Can I borrow your jacket, Sean?
I'll
take it off.
Oh, I mean, it's just.
We will see what we can do.
It's cool here, but it's really cold.
Yeah, you're in the bad spot too. I know because I sit there.
All right.
Holly.
President Pro Tem and Commissioners, thank you very much. We are moving on to our preliminary levy and budget. As a reminder, this becomes a 4-step process. Over the course of the fall, we'll be here together for preliminary budget and levy, and then it will go to City Council, and then we'll come back again later in the fall for our final budget and levy, and then it will go to City Council for final approval. And with our budget, we will purchase a new clicker. There we go. All right. So just as a brief reminder, and you've been through it all, we provide economic development services for the city of Bloomington. And our next item is to talk about a mission statement, but we do this through business assistance, creative placemaking, workforce development and redevelopment services. We are working in support of the city's strategic goals or strategic priorities that include a connected and welcoming community and a community with equitable economic growth. And those are part of the Bloomington Together Tomorrow priorities. And then we, this year, set our own goals and priorities, which included guiding principles of inclusive and equitable growth, sustainability, collaboration, service, and accountability. And we are now focusing on 8 objective areas of traded sectors, which are those large employers small businesses, innovation and entrepreneurship, thriving places. We've heard from you many times that if we're going to do economic development, we want to build a place where people want to be. Real estate and infrastructure, talent attraction and retention, wraparound services, and then marketing and events. Our timeline has been quite interesting over the last few years because the port actually implemented its levy for the first time. It used to be funded primarily by interest earned on the South Loop Development Fund, but citywide expansion was identified as a goal in 2022. The port started doing that in 2023 and was funded by $1.4 million with a transfer from the HRA levy. We were able to offer small business assistance services for the first time. 2024, we imposed our first levy of $1.5 million. Last year, we brought it up to $2.5, and we had strong reasons for that. We wanted to fund our reserves. We now have our own account that we're responsible for. Seed our strategic acquisition fund for future purchases, and then prepare for our 5-year plan projects. And then in 2026, we're going to talk about renaming those funds, and we're asking for a $2.9 million levy to grow services and build reserves. So our 2026 budget includes a total budgeted revenue of $3,470,000 with total expenses of $3,153,488. And you'll see that our revenue less expenditures is $316,000, and the reason we're doing that is we are continuing to grow our operating reserves and our strategic acquisition fund. We are funded by a transfer from the South Loop Development Fund of $560,000, and then our levy request for this year, which is $2.9 million. So briefly, because we talked about it extensively, we are going to continue development assistance, opportunity housing ordinance, business assistance, citywide creative placemaking, marketing and promotion of Bloomington, and allocated funding to assist with development projects and studies citywide. And a few new things will include business outreach programs with targeted partners. So we previewed that with some of the work that we're doing with Zawadi. We are going to find additional partners to help us get our work out. We are creating a new fund specifically for small business support. And then we are looking to have permanent staffing for Bloom in Bloomington. Warson's position was a 1-year temporary position. And with this budget, we are making it permanent and we're housing it within the port. You can see that our team has expanded a bit over the last few years. And we did preview that we are creating a new fund and we have some new naming conventions. This is going to get a bit technical and it's going to take some getting used to, but bear with me. So we used to have a fund that we called the Port Development Fund. It was funded by the Levy. We're going to change its name to the General Fund. That is the fund that we use citywide for our general economic development purposes. This is in line with the way the city's naming conventions go. Your general fund should be your most general fund. What we used to call the general fund is going to be called the South Loop Special Revenue Fund. And that was funded by interest from the South Loop Development Fund. I'm so sorry, guys, 4,300. And so we are changing that. The name will be South Loop Special Revenue Fund. We'll continue to remind you the general fund is the levy. The South Loop Special Revenue Fund is just for South Loop. But we're all going to work together to get used to this language. We've cleared it with the auditors, and it is going to make our lives a little simpler and less confusing moving forward. We can only use the South Loop Special Revenue Fund in the South Loop area, and we primarily use that for staff and projects that are related to our development work. And then our new fund is going to be our Business Payment Fund, and that is going to be a transfer in from the Port Authority levy or external grants that we get, and that is specifically to assist businesses. So when we do the facade improvement grant, if we're doing Hatch, if we're creating a new SAC program, if we're doing microloans or micro grants, we're going to keep all of those in this fund. So if one program becomes more popular one year or less popular, we can flex easily. We can track how that money's going out the door more easily. And it's just clearer to us how much of our money is going towards direct financial assistance for small businesses. Very different from TIF and other types of financial assistance. We do this is directed primarily at very small businesses. All right, and I'll move it over to Mary Kay to get specifically into the numbers.
Good evening. So the first slide we'll look at is the combined general and South Loop funds. If we look at the revenues, as Holly mentioned, the request is for 3.4 million, and that's about 76,000 increase from last year. But you can see that the levy request has gone up 400,000, and the other revenues has gone down 334. And so basically, the general fund request is going up 400,000. The South Loop request is going down 334,000, and that's because of the shift in work that the port has done. As their work has expanded citywide, less of the resources is going to South Loop, more is going to citywide, so that's why the levy is going up and the other revenue is going down. But overall, the revenue request is about 2.2% increase from last year. If we look at expenditures, salaries and benefits are going to go up. The request is to go up 21%, or 230,000. That includes the addition of the Bloom facilitator position. And also this year, every year, Holly and I look at how employees are allocating their time. Every 2 weeks, employees allocate their time based on where they work. So some gets quoted to the general fund, some to South Loop, and some to TIF funds. And just based on that review that's done every year, some of the allocations change, and more of their time is being spent on citywide. And material supplies and services, the requested increase is 188,000, or 13%, and that's mostly in the small business, like the microloans, SAC fee assistance. And then internal charges for like IT, mailroom, building, is increase of 22,000. So overall, for the 2026 budget, as Holly mentioned, it's a net increase to fund balance of 316,000. Okay, and is it? Okay. Looking specifically at the general fund, once again, the levy request is going up 400,000. New in 2026, now that there's a little bit of reserves in the fund, we're allocating interest, and so we're estimating about 10,000 for interest income. You can see salaries and benefits went up for the request 326,000, and that's the addition of the Bloom facilitator position, but also just the reallocation of how employees are spending their time, just more of it being spent citywide. Material supplies and services, the budget request is an addition for 1.576 million, an increase of 37%. Once again, that's some of the new initiative like the microloans, SAC fee assistance. And then the internal charges, increase of about 20%. So the addition, revenues less expenses would be 307,000, which would help build reserves for future land acquisitions. And the South Loop Fund, you can see the requested revenue is going down by 334,000. And once again, it's just because more activity is going citywide. You can see the salaries and benefits is going down about 96,000. Material supplies and services, 239,000. Part of that is also creative placemaking is actually a city fund, and so there used to be a transfer from the city to port and then back to the city for creative placemaking. So we're just streamlining the budget this year, so that reduced material and supplies and services by 110 because creative placemaking will just be funded directly from the city South Loop Fund to the creative placemaking fund. So that was part of the significant decrease in material supplies and services. So overall, the fund pretty much breaks even with a net positive of 9,000. And I think
that's it. Yep. So moving forward, tonight we're asking for your preliminary budget and levy approval. Then it would go to City Council on September 8th, be submitted to Hennepin County. November 18th, we'll be back here for approval. for the final levy recommendation and budget. So this could shift over the next few months as we refine our budgets. The city is also going through their process. And then December 8th, we are slated to go to City Council for final levy request approval. If they do not approve our final budget, that only happens at the port. And then it's submitted to Hennepin County. And with that, we are seeking motions to approve both the preliminary budget and the preliminary levy, but I would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, both of you, for this. Question that I had as I look at the South Loop Fund, and I'm using that phrase correctly now, the South Loop Fund, the capital outlay of $8.2 million back in 2024, there was no capital outlay in the 25 budget and none in the 26 budget. Is there simply, there's no plans in front of us, or do we have the flexibility in case plans do come in front of us in 26 that we might need to do a capital outlay?
Yeah, so that capital outlay was for the SIC ramp. And so the SIC ramp funding, half of it was coming from the city's 4,300 fund, and the other half was coming from the Mall of America TIF fund. And from talking with our auditors, the easiest way to do it would just be a transfer from the 4,300 into the port. And we didn't want to transfer non-TIF money into a TIF fund. So when we transferred the city share of the ramp, we put it into the South Loop Fund. And so that was where that huge capital outlay came from. I don't expect any other major capital outlays in the South Loop Fund. So.
Right. Thank you. Commissioner Peterson and then Commissioner Nelson. Commissioner Peterson.
Thank you. So I intend to support the resolution. I have a request though. And this is kind of as part of the evolution of the port into kind of where we're at, is that the budgetary presentation is kind of like what kinds of things we're spending money on. So it's like people and outlays and stuff like that. I think from a management perspective, to kind of do our management duties, we also need a view that kind of looks and says, okay, based on kind of the outcomes or the activities that we're doing at the port, that we also need a view at that level that says we're spending this much money to do this, we're spending this much money to do that sort of thing, in terms of like the Bloom, for example, we're hiring the Bloom coordinator on a full-time basis. And so what I'd like to see, and it doesn't have to be like super precise. So, I've done time cards before, and I get the game on filling out time cards and stuff like that. But what I'd like to be able to do at a rough level is be able to say, okay, we're expending this much resources toward this goal, we're expending this much resources toward that goal. And when we're having the budget conversation, we're able to kind of look and say, here's how that's kind of panning out, so that we can make value judgments on, do we think that's the right amount of money to be spending on that particular activity, and give you our feedback on that. And so, not necessarily as part of the kind of what we're doing today, but I'd like us to kind of get things set up so that we can gather that data and report on that, so that we can see that. Because we have a lot going on now. I look at that org chart, and it used to be one person, and it's not anymore. And so I think we sitting here have to kind of up our game on watching stuff, and that's information I think we need in order to be able to do that. So that's my piece of feedback.
President Pro Tem, Commissioner Peterson, and Commissioners, the city actually undertook a priority-based budgeting process this year that I think might help answer some of those questions. I don't, unfortunately, have the port's results yet available to me, but Mary Kay, do you have a sense of when we might be able to share some of that?
Actually, Kari Carlson just sent out an email this afternoon with some information, and she's starting to schedule meetings, so it should be early September.
But I think well taken. I haven't seen what those results will look like yet, but I'm hoping that helps to answer some of your questions. But I think in the future, and certainly for the next cycle, we can break down some of the program costs, just so you can see what staff belongs to what program, what funding, et cetera.
Yeah, I think that would be a helpful thing, because I think we're, right now we're in kind of an expansion mode, but I think there's always a time where you're like, hey, we have to pivot to something different, and then you have to look closely at things and say, which of the things are really kind of worth continuing forward, and which are things maybe we need to change. And that's the information we need to be able to do that. So.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Commissioner Nelson.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate Commissioner Peterson's comments, because I had been wondering about if this would be part of the priority based budgeting process. So I'm glad to hear that it is. What I'd also like to see is, it seems like there's a number of shifts between different funds based on the renaming, that some money went from what had been in South Loop to citywide to, so what I would think is now the general fund from and out of there. So, and then some of it for creative placemaking in particular went to the city budget. Can we get kind of those finite amounts and how they shifted between the different funds, not just sort of the end result, but exactly what moved from where based on that, based on the materials, the time cards, all of those things, just to see how we can see those things have moved. I assume that was a yes. Okay.
President Pro Tem Commissioner Nelson and commissioners, yes, we can do that. We can line item certain things that have shifted, like, I don't know, professional services, cell phones, for example, have moved from more South Loop to general fund. I have to get used to it too. But I did want to be clear that the levy is operating as the levy has, and the South Loop fund is operating as the South Loop has. It's just that we ourselves are now working more outside the South Loop. Yeah. The Creative Placemaking Fund, we have had to rearrange the way things have been done, and I know precisely because it was confusing to everybody every year. So I'm actually going to have Mary Kay do that part of the presentation just to make sure we're all clear moving forward.
That sounds great. And then the other question I had, just for clarification for my memory, the expansion of the team, a lot of that had to do originally with the other change we made when the port went citywide. The HRA changed its roles. We redid things. That was a lot of the reason we have a lot more people in the port now. Is that accurate? Is my recollection? We haven't added overall, if you look at the city, the port, the HRA, as much as it looks like we've added here. Is that accurate?
I'd say, Mayor and members, the real estate and development team is taking on a bit more of the HRA's work. Kenny Niemeyer shared between the two. And then otherwise, I would say, I think it's about the same as the port used to be, just the real estate development team. So a lot of the new members are taking on roles and activities that the city had expressed that it wanted, but there were no staff to fulfill.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Others? All right, hearing none. Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. And yes, this is the start of the process, and we know it is, and we'll be working through budgets until December here in the council chambers. So it will be good to have this background and this presentation for Commissioner Nelson and I when we become members of the city council, and to be able to answer any questions if need be, and to advocate for the work that the Port Authority is doing and doing so well. So,
yes.
All right. With that, commissioners, we need two motions this evening. I would look for a motion to approve the Port Authority's preliminary 2026 budget for the Port Authority General and South Loop Special Revenue Funds. A motion by Commissioner Peterson. Do we have a second? We have a second by Commissioner Hunt. Any further council or commission discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. And then I would look for a motion to approve the resolution authorizing a preliminary levy for the year 2026 pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 469.053, Subdivision 4.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Peterson, and a second by Commissioner Lunds. Any further commission discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Commission, and thank you all very much for the work on the budget and prepping it up and teeing it up for us so well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And we'll go to item 3.3 on our agenda. This is the Port Authority Mission Statement Adoption. Holly.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and members. I'm just going to get shorter at this. So we have been working on this really for most of this year. The mission statement process came up during our strategic planning process. The port's mission had been sort of taken from statute. It wasn't written necessarily by the Port Authority Commission. And so staff went through an exercise with TIP Strategies, our consultants, and came up with some ideas and some inspiration for what we thought an appropriate mission statement would be for the port. We presented some preliminary ideas to you a few months ago. You came back and met with us at a facilitated session last month to work through this together. And so at this point, we have worked to a two-sentence mission statement, which is included in your packet. And I want to give us all a little time to read it together and make comments on it, make adjustments if need be. We want this mission statement to be reflective of what you see your vision to be as the Port Authority Commission in charge of economic development for the city of Bloomington, and also what the staff have seen to be important and what we see in other communities as part of mission statements. So again, you've talked about it all night. Our work has shifted significantly from just really focusing on real estate to bringing in all these other aspects of the work that we do: small business and entrepreneurship, workforce development, creative placemaking sits within the port. And so the mission statement that we're proposing to you tonight is: the Port Authority cultivates community prosperity and quality development. Through bold vision and responsible public investments, we contribute to the growth of Bloomington's inclusive and resilient economy. And with that, I welcome your questions, discussion, thoughts, reactions.
Commissioners, I'll let you chew on that for just a second. Read that one more time. Maybe you can move your lips while you're reading if you'd like to really get a feel for it. And
Do we have to memorize it?
there will be a test. So thoughts on this, Commissioners?
I do think it took in the kind of short and sweet feedback that we gave. And I like I think it hits on the high points that we came out of the conversation. So I'm reluctant to wordsmith it. I think it does what we need to do with it.
Thank you, Commissioner Peterson. Commissioner Keller?
Yeah, in light of current events, to choose careful words, I greatly appreciate the inclusion of inclusion. I think we can't stand down from those principles as the winds blow in the other direction.
You mean inclusive?
Yes, that's what I meant.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Agreed, Commissioner Keller. Thank you.
Well, obviously, this is why I have to quit, because my reading skills have deteriorated to the point where I'm only vaguely competent. You included me, though, so that's...
Commissioner Lunds and then Commissioner Hunt. Commissioner Lunds.
I'm all for inclusive, but I don't know what an inclusive economy is. Those two words, to me, I don't know.
Well, I think if you go up to the second paragraph of the staff report there, the Bloomington Tomorrow Together strategic priority, we have a strategic priority of equitable economic development.
Okay.
And that, I think, ties in that notion of equitable economic development, that this rising tide lifts all boats, and it includes everyone in the city. So that, I think, is where the notion of an inclusive, resilient economy comes from. An inclusive economy includes everyone.
My only other comment on that fine, I got it. I think that's a good explanation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But I want an economy to be successful, too. Exactly. That word's not in there. Profitable, successful, whatever you want to call it. But resilient's great. Inclusive's good. But
Well, prosperity.
what?
That's prosperity.
There you go. It's prosperous economy. Community press. We're mincing words.
No, and we're here to do that. We can talk about that. And let's get everybody's thoughts here. Commissioner Hunt.
Mine was in line with Commissioner Lon's. Thank you. I get the inclusivity and the kind of the current state of the world, and I just am struggling with that part being in there. I appreciate the explanation, having to draw back onto that. I just thought it was an unnecessary word, and it were more reactive to being, okay, this is what everybody else is saying, so we should say the same thing. And not saying that we don't want all of that, because we do. We want everybody to do well. But is there a need to actually use the word? So,
Commissioner Nelson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. In my opinion, there is a need to use the word because we do want everyone to do well. Exactly, to the point. I mean, we don't want an economy where some people do extremely well and other people struggle significantly. And so this is balancing not only our businesses so they can be successful, but their employees so they can be successful and all of that. So, I mean, I know when we look at development projects, one of the criteria that we look at, typically if there's state or federal funding, is how many jobs will it create and what wage level of jobs will that create. And so we now have a criteria within our mission here that says we need to explicitly look at that and make sure that that's important. So that, for me, that's why it's important to be there.
Commissioner Peterson.
Oh, thank you. You know, one of the things that I've been pushing for a while now has been for us to kind of expand our focus from kind of being great at mega projects to also being great at kind of supporting small businesses. And so when I read the word inclusive, that's part of my personal desire to make sure that we're both continue to be good at mega projects, because I think it's a unique skill that has served us well, and we need to continue to have that muscle. But we also need to figure out how to grow businesses from small business to big businesses. And so when I see the word kind of inclusive there, part of that is having kind of just being over a range of sizes of businesses, is what I think about when I read that. Yeah, and so that's why I like that in there, because we could easily have something where we could say, well, we're just going to get back in the mega project business. And I think this kind of keeps us honest about the mega projects, and that's part of the meal, but it's not the whole thing. So,
Commissioner Keller.
I think those are all apt and smart observations. But the word inclusive, we have to be prepared, if we keep that, to be read differently. Again, the concepts that could be read into that, besides the economic ones, the up and down, big and small, can't fail to be giving people the opportunity to draw conclusions that are otherwise. And we have to be, if we're going to keep those kinds of words, we have to be prepared to answer those questions very much like they were in the last 5 minutes. So I guess it's something of a warning that I view that as something of a lightning rod. And if perhaps we can clarify that with big and small or whatever it is we do, that does get into painful wordsmithing. I just think being ready for that would be very wise, and more important, as important, it is each of us being ready in a consistent way, because that's where things blow up. I think it is supposedly a mission statement for our whole organization. If the organization reads 17 different interpretations in it, it'll be problematic.
I appreciate that, Commissioner. I personally, for the reasons stated that I and Commissioner Peterson and Commissioner Nelson stated, I think the word inclusive is important to leave in there. I also appreciate Commissioner Lund's thoughts of prosperous or successful or so on. And as I read the structure of that sentence, through bold vision and responsible public investments, of course, the first half talks about what we're looking for. We want to contribute to the growth and prosperity of Bloomington's economy. And then the second part we talk about, we want to contribute to the growth and prosperity, and then defining what type of economy we want to have, that we want to have an inclusive and a resilient economy. So I would be open to, including the word of, growth and the growth and prosperity, or the growth and success, however we want to say it, basically defining what we want out of the economy And what would that economy, what we want that economy to look like is to have an economy that's inclusive and resilient. Commissioner Lunds.
For a guy that wrote for a living for many years, I just pencil something in and throw me under the bus. But what if we said the last phrase, we contribute to the growth of Bloomington's, oh, it's not going to work quite right. We contribute to the growth of Bloomington's inclusively prosperous and resilient economy. You're combining the words inclusively for all with prosperity, what I'm trying to achieve here.
I see what you did there. And that, I think, would be something to think about as well. I like that idea.
We want everybody to make money.
I will say my other comment was that I like the use of the word cultivate. You've heard this before, but cultivate is an action verb. It means to help grow and to develop and to make better. And I mean, you've all heard me use the garden analogy, and how it works for a community as well. But I think we can talk about cultivating an economy and community prosperity also. So.
Mayor and members, I have a couple suggestions, but I also want to offer that we can return with another iteration of this. I will point out that our president is not here, so we may want to. But community prosperity, I just want to give some explanations from staff, was chosen for a stand-in for economic development, because we actually heard that from you in our session last month, that you really see yourselves as, it's not just about the economy, you want to make sure that the people of Bloomington do well. That was something that I took from that. Maybe I think that's what you're saying. And then I also wanted to say about the word inclusive, that's very important to us in how we do our work too, because I think for a long time there was a perception that the port worked with very large projects, to Commissioner Peterson's point. And so we have gone out of our way to build relationships with smaller developers, with young people who want to be in the internship program that might not be able to, with small businesses that have been here for a very long time, but English might not be their first language. And that takes extra time and resources on our end. We often have to bring in translators or additional partners to help make that happen. But if we didn't take the time to do that, those people would not be able to participate in any of the work that the port is doing, which does not contribute to community prosperity. So inclusiveness is very much a part of the way that we think about the resources and the time and the intentionality of it all. So I wanted to explain that also from the inclusiveness perspective. But I did want to just throw out a small edit and see if it resonated with you. What if, for the second sentence, it said, through bold vision and responsible public investments, we contribute to the growth and success of Bloomington's inclusive and resilient economy?
Actually, looking back and realizing we used the word prosperity in the first sentence as well.
I missed that. That's right.
I did too. So I think success, the growth and success of Bloomington's inclusive and resilient economy. I could be good with that because, yes, thank you for catching the reuse of the word prosperity.
I was looking for it. I couldn't find it in here. I knew the word was in there, but I couldn't find it.
It's hiding there. Members, would we be comfortable with that? Holly, could you read the entire thing for us, with the edit that you offered, please?
I can. So, the Port Authority cultivates community prosperity and quality development. Through bold vision and responsible public investments, we contribute to the growth and success of Bloomington's inclusive and resilient economy.
We have a motion by Councilmember Nelson to adopt the mission statement as read by Holly. I will second that motion to adopt the mission statement as read. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, Commission, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Well done. Thank you.
Well done to all of you.
Item 3.4 on our agenda is the acceptance of the resignation and recognition of Commissioner Keller's service to the Port Authority.
You need to go up and give a talk.
I was surprised to read Commissioner Keller that you have served since 2002. 2002. You were.
As was I. It is a chunk of my life that I seem to have lost track of.
That is a significant chunk. I mean, 23 years of anything is significant. I remember when I started on the council, these many years ago, and was appointed to the Port Authority, having no idea what the Port Authority was. To hear the conversations that you would bring forward, and you, Commissioner Hunt, and that President Erickson and so on would bring forward was an incredible learning experience. And it helped shape my notion and my understanding of what the port was. It helped shape my understanding of economic development. And Commissioner Keller, it helped shape my snarky wit and commentary that you often provided as a part of the work on the commission.
Tedium, I think, was my other contribution.
So as we sit here tonight and thank you for your service, we are, a grateful nation thanks you, a grateful city thanks you. And we appreciate all that you have done and that you have brought to the port these 23 years, more than 2 decades, and want to, again, just say thank you and recognize the work that you've done. Reluctantly, but willingly accept your resignation and wish you the best as you move forward with all that you have to do. So,
well, thank you for that. And I'm frankly a little overwhelmed. 2 very quick things so that I end without too much tedium. I have learned a lot doing this, and 2 things I learned have been really the complexity and significance of the opportunities as well as challenges that this body is confronted with and deals with. And the second is how well that happens. Earlier comments about staff, I don't know where we find people such as our current administrator and all of the people that work with her. I have said this to probably every commissioner that I've ever served with, that usually after a meeting, I can't believe how great and professional each and every one of you are. And it has been, the other part of that education is, now that I understand that a little better, I also understand it's all been handled very well, and I'm confident it will continue to be, and that ratifies a decision my wife and I made almost 40 years ago to live and raise a family in this city. I have such great affection for this place. It is, as you all would agree, I know, a special place, and this organization is one of the reasons why it is. So it has been an honor and a privilege, and again, your kind thoughts are greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Commissioner Hunt, you've served with Commissioner Keller, perhaps the longest of all of us.
Yes.
Anything to add?
You've been a wonderful resource. We all talk a lot and so forth, and the legal expertise, but just a perspective. And we're all different backgrounds and, whatever, but just, even though might disagree on some things, but the commonality and the thinking and how you get to a certain point and how anybody gets to a certain decision point and discussion, but always been very valuable and
again, very kind.
About many things.
You are very kind, and
a wealth of information and
likewise.
expertise.
Likewise.
I always appreciate that.
Commissioner Lunds?
I'm basically abashed as the primary representative for the port in getting us a 100% pay raise. Now that we're in the big money, he's quitting the board.
Well, I'm paying my taxes too, so I'm really going into the hole here. My retirement plan, I just shot myself in the foot.
I see. Well,
Alas.
you know what I say? It's good beer money.
Well, it could get me through a weekend.
Commissioner, anything else to add? Anything, commissioners? If not,
Thank you.
Commission, I will move to accept the resignation of Commissioner Tim Keller as of August 20th, 2025, and to direct staff to begin the process of filling the commission vacancy.
I'll reluctantly second the motion.
Motion and a second to reluctantly accept the resignation of Commissioner Tim Keller. No further commission discussion on this. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we have
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Commissioner.
I almost opposed it.
Our final item this evening is item 4.1, our administrator updates. Holly.
Thank you very much, Mayor and members. On that note, we are looking to actually fill that appointment at the September 8th City Council meeting. We do have a candidate in place who had previously applied for the position. So we're happy that that person wanted to proceed and was still available. And so you'll be hearing more about that in September. Additionally, on the personnel front, Mayor, would you mind giving an update on the city manager process?
Yes, I would. We have, last week, 2 Mondays ago, the council approved the contract to hire a new city manager, Zach Walker, who is the current city manager of Independence, Missouri. You have to say it correctly, Missouri.
Exactly.
And I just actually spoke with him today, and he is hoping to. He and his wife have bought a house in Bloomington, and they will be moving up here. And the goal is to start sometime either like the 20th or the 27th of October, to have an official start date, with the likelihood of opportunities to meet folks prior to that in an informal setting, and opportunities for introductions to be made and so on. So excited to have Zach on board and moving forward. Very grateful to Elizabeth Tolsman and Kathy Hadeen for their work for these months as our interim co-city managers. They've done outstanding work, and we owe them a great deal of debt for the stability they brought, and the positive nature, and the successful search that we did conduct here, looking for a city manager. So excited to get Zach on board, excited for him to meet all of you and to get to work.
Nice.
Thank you. And I echo that. For Elizabeth and Kathy have been excellent to work under, and they have really, who would have known they were interims? I mean, this place has felt very solid under their leadership. So if you get an opportunity and you see them, just thank them for the time they spent on that. They've done an incredible job. Final thoughts, upcoming meetings. Please let Marit know about your availability. We do plan to have some concurrent meetings regarding the water park coming up over the next month or two. And then we hope that you will be seeing some information from Southtown a little bit later in the fall. But nothing is concrete yet. I just want to put that on your radar. And I believe that is it for us. So just again, Commissioner Keller, thank you for your service to the port and your mentorship to me in my first few years here.
Well, I've said to you several times in the past that I want you to succeed, and my wishes come true.
Thank you.
Anything else? Commission, we have come to the end of our agenda. I don't have to look for a motion to adjourn. I can just adjourn. Commission, we are adjourned. Thanks for coming tonight. Thanks for your work.